listeners, and welcome to a Geek. No, I'm doing that voice again. It's because it's the second half of that pod, you see. And welcome to a Geek Tragedy. I'm Stephen Nunn-Linus, Plague Man for various reasons, and I am your host. And I would like to welcome to the pod, again, technically speaking, the most erudite human and my best friend in the whole world, Holly Properly. Hello, Holly.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for asking. Very nice. I would ask you how you are, but that's Mark's job, so I can't.
Don't you go nicking my job.
Yeah.
My purpose in life.
Mark's the Stephen Oscarer. How it goes down. And of course, as we are saying that, our very own Savage Man and Crafter par excellence, Mark Caudry. How are you, Mark?
Well, thank you very much. A lot of gardening and some hammock to make up for the lot of gardening.
Done some gardening
I know,
and some
that's
hammock.
right. That's all right. Down in Cornwall, it's what we do down there. What about yourself, kind sir? How fare you?
I am all right. As I was saying before the pod, I had managed to get myself an appointment and had my foot looked at, so I now know that I need some surgery on my foot to make it work, which is really relieving because now I know why my foot frickin' hurts every time I walk everywhere. So that's good and nice.
And also
and
a bugger.
Maybe very happy. Well, I'd rather know. I mean, stuff happens, you know. You injure yourself over the years. It's better that it's a fixable, all good problem. Yeah. So this pod, right? We may have accidentally, gentle listeners, got ourselves in a bit of a long wandering thing. No, I didn't introduce Kit last week until like almost halfway through, so I've got to keep going and then do the same thing in this pod. Okay. I had a whole shtick lined up for this.
Okay. Well, I wasn't aware of the shtick that you had lined up for this. I just thought you'd forgotten again. I'm terribly sorry. Please resume.
Feel the professionalism, gentle listener.
So we may have talked for far too long last time we were on a pod. We got together, we went to Fans Forest. We talked for ages. We talked for so long that I forgot to introduce Kit until later on. So I'll do it again now, a bit later.
I see.
Say, behind the scenes, our long-suffering and excellent producer, Kit, who shall be named Bestest Kit, Best Kit, the Best Kit,
Best Kit, Airfix Kit.
And the various other names that we've come up with for Kit. But yes, we rambled on for ages, and we found ourselves in a situation where we actually had about 2 and a bit hours of footage. So we kind of really badly stuck in an interview with Mark at the end. It just goes from me asking Holly a question and then straight into an interview with Mark. And I at the beginning of the question, I say like, and in a minute we'll ask Mark the same question, but we don't. We just go into an interview, and then we kind of end the episode with us dressed completely differently, much like we are now, which is wonderful. And at the end of this episode that you're about to listen to, we sign off as though it were last week. So we're dressed again, completely differently.
It's totally fucked, isn't it?
I don't think anyone would have noticed, but now you've pointed it out.
Well, I like to do that sort of thing. Anyway, so without further ado, we will go back into the pod where I ask Mark a question and he will now answer it. I think it was what costume inspired you the most or spoke to you the most at the Fantasy Festival. Fantasy Forest. I think it was that one because I think that's what Holly was twittering on about. So
Wittering,
absolutely wittering.
I see.
I'm going to go now. Enjoy the rest of the show. Bye. Mark, what about you? What were your apparently 3 favourite costumes?
3. Oh,
you don't have to do 3. You don't have to do 3. It just
maybe 2012 costumes that you saw that you liked.
I mean, for me, it was the sheer variety. I mean, okay, this is on subject, but just a little bit of a preamble. The fact that I've never been to a festival where you could walk down a street in the festival and there would be, for some reason, loads of people wearing mushroom hats, which was great.
Mushrooms were big.
Alongside a stormtrooper from Star Wars, alongside a pirate, alongside
us,
alongside steampunk, cartoon characters, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Death on
I
Holiday.
had a quick chat with Death,
who I pretended to ignore because it's Terry Pratchett's Death, and
yeah. But just that sheer variety. It was like a beautiful onslaught of distractions, constantly going, oh, look at that over there, oh, look at that over there. So I mean,
Doctor Who.
to pin down specific ones which really went, wow, look at that. I think, top of my head, I think the one that I can most turn to and go, "Whoa, that was just stunning," was one of the contestants from the body painting competition, and they had a body painting competition there where I don't know how many people entered, but we saw a few of them wandering around the site afterwards, and there was this one woman as a praying mantis, and she had a really nice headpiece, big eyes and mandibles and stuff, and these forearms which were like praying mantis arms, but the entirety of the rest of her was just airbrushed and hand painted. Apparently, I spoke to them afterwards, and it took 5 hours for one guy to paint this woman, and she looked stunning,
Crikey.
absolutely stunning. They came second.
They came.
I don't know who the first prize was, but that was just like eye catching. You went, wow, that's paint. That was just awesome. Oh God, I mean, I really struggled to pick out any particular one. There was some.
It's not about what was best. It's really just about who spoke to you, and that
really did.
Yeah, that kind of triggers, that happy trigger that we often talk about. That's kind of where we are. You got a big happy trigger from seeing.
Yes, and there were just beautiful people wearing beautiful costumes, and it was just joyous to see how many costumes there were, and a vast majority of the costumes that we were seeing weren't people who were entertainers at the event. These were punters coming in their own costumes, wandering through the festival, and just adding so much to the festival. I would say 60-70% of the costumes that we saw were worn by punters who had come to the festival, and I just thought that was glorious. It was just kind of overwhelming in the best possible way, because there was just so much to look at, and I loved that about the festival.
What about you, Stephen?
What costumes that I saw?
Yeah.
I didn't see any.
But that's a lie, isn't it?
Come on, join in.
There was. I'm not a big fan of cosplay. We've had this discussion before, but I mean, it's not I hate it or anything. There's a lot of people wearing stuff and they're emulating stuff. I really like unique individual things more than I like cosplay. I don't think they're bad costumes. What attracts my eye and gives me a lot of happiness is stuff like that we were wearing. Right? It's not. It's something that I can create a persona out of that I enjoy playing around in. Yeah. So most of the stuff in the waist really made me happy. Like a lot of the people that were wearing, like your buddy that we met that was wearing the samurai armor, they'd made out of Meccano, right?
Mm-hmm.
That looks really cool. That was really cool.
It
was awesome amount of work. I'd seen him before at a previous festival, and we'd talked about his work. But yeah, an incredible amount of work, and a really clever idea.
Yep. And that kind of stuff makes me happy, because someone's thought of it themselves and spent a lot of time doing it, and they put it on. And to me, it's quite brave to come to an event in kit that no one's going to recognise. In an event like that, and kind of go like, people going, who are you supposed to be? Well, samurai guy from Wasteland. That's pretty cool. Again, I'm not disparaging anyone else's. I'm not yucking their yum. Cosplayers should be happy doing what they're doing. It's not something I don't think I could do. I did walk past stuff that cheered me up a little bit when I saw a lot of people doing. There was a whole labyrinth area with Solidimus and the guys were there, but that wasn't really costume. That was just there. People were wearing it, so to speak. Big Wookie was cool. I like Big Wookie. Big Wookie was quite entertaining.
Big Wookie was good.
Good costume.
Yeah,
that looked like a lot of effort. And of course, Elle's stilt walking monster was very, very cool as well. If that counts as costume rather than a show, I'm not sure where you kind of put it really.
No, I mean, so many of the costumes were performance.
Yeah.
And hers was absolutely performance.
Did you see what I presume to have been a Green Knight wandering around? It was like full big metal helmet, metal armor, big fucking horns.
Yes.
Wooden.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Don't think I spotted him.
He was with someone else who was representing that had similar sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Oh no, I did
You
see
did,
them.
yeah.
A lot of greenery on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did see him. He was great.
That made me kind of that's cool.
I really loved that no matter, because there were so many mushrooms. There were so many mushrooms everywhere, but a lot of them, when you spoke to them, they were each a very specific type of mushroom, which was quite nice. Like they'd done their mushroomy research, but also you'd see mushrooms, and then about 5 minutes later, you just see like a guy dressed as Mario, and that was brilliant.
And Mark doing the whole like, watch out for Mario mushroom.
Watch out for small Italian plumbers. So, I mean, if they'd done the research, how many of those costumes were edible? And how many would have killed you?
I mean, I think most of them would have killed you, Mark, because they were largely made of fabric and, not actual mushroom.
Okay.
Hang on, before you go. No, I'm sorry, Stephen. There's a lot to talk about, but it was just on the mushroom thing. There was one that I thought was a mushroom until they turned around and there was this beautiful jellyfish. It was this same sort of domed hat, but it was this gorgeous, gorgeous jellyfish. So that was another one which struck me. Carry on, Stephen. We're back on track.
Jellyfish away from Mike from last week. Does lots of in unusual ways.
He does.
And completely normal ways. So the next one's about theatre that happened. So my next question is, what did you both love about the Abacus theatre machines that were there? We discussed this already, and they were everyone's kind of favourite bit from this group, at the very least.
Yeah.
For those who weren't there, they were huge steampunk machines, driven by 5 intrepid. There were 5, weren't there? 4 intrepid steampunk nauts. They were massive. They were. It's hard to really explain them without you. I don't think I could, even with my tremendous descriptive skills, which have been lauded to the nines on many occasions. I could do these things justice. Go and look up Abacus Theatre, and witness them being these things out of a Jules Verne novel that were physically driven around and spun their drivers around and so on and so forth, and produced steam and had their own music playing out. What were your thoughts on them this time, beginning with Mark?
Well, I thought they were glorious. They were theatre. That they were a beautiful combination of art, engineering, and theatre, and I had seen them online as well, and I was really pleased to see them in person. And they reminded me a lot in terms of their presence and in terms of that fusion of engineering and art of La Machine, a French company who do the giant puppets like the Sultan's elephant and the young girl, and there's a deep sea diver as well. And I was fortunate enough to see a couple of their pieces in Toulouse when I was working in there. And I think the Abacus Theatre machines had that same presence. Yeah, that just it was theatre in the whole. Just them moving was a theatre, and I think the fact that they were accompanied by their own soundtrack, which was a real rousing, symphonic, dramatic musical soundtrack, which just accompanied them everywhere. And the guys look on top of riding these machines, they just looked as smug as ever, and they had every right to look smug because they looked glorious. And they were just cruising around. You could just see them over the top of. You could see them around the side because they were so big. They towered over a lot of the stalls. So you go, there they are over there. Just do.
I took a video of them, and I was filming the back guys coming around, and they turned. The first one to turn and were going past me, and suddenly this wheel appeared in my camera watch, and I just moved up a little bit. And I had to move up a little bit more. I moved up a little bit more, and eventually I could see. I was like, "My God, they're so big!"
But it was. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and also you're right. The drivers on top, the pilots, the whatever their title is as movers of those machines. You're right there. They were right to look smug, and they did their own little performances. I mean, they couldn't do much up there. They were just kind of putting levers and stuff. But there was lots of. They all had pipes.
Yeah.
So there was lots of kind of like little nods and movements
and pointing.
They were doing, them pointing at nothing in particular and looking like kind of.
It
They were
was,
posing for photographs all the time. I mean, they were just being a photographic
but that
magnet.
that was
Very
the best part, because the best part of the whole thing was its timing, right? Like, so when we saw them, we got super lucky the first time that we saw them, because they just started a run. Like we
It's
turned,
their first run.
yeah,
That was their
there
launch.
was, we walked around a corner, and then suddenly there were just these huge machines like right in front of us, and they were just starting up, and then there was smoke, and there was music, and there was just all of these incredible things going on, and they went off in one direction, and then everybody turned around and they went back in another direction, but everything was timed so perfectly to the swell of that music to make it feel intrepid, to make it feel big. And
Excellent use of the word intrepid.
thank you, but that's how that's really how it
Very
felt.
accurate, yeah.
And like all of the motions of these people, like everything they did was very deliberate and very slow, almost kind of puppet-esque. It was very sort of it had a fluidity to it that's not usual in human movement, and that just made it kind of even more like even more kind of ethereal. There was something like at the same time ridiculously grounded in it, because there were these giant machines and you could see their engineering and you could see how they worked, but there was at the same time something that was just kind of almost like otherworldly about the experience as a whole. Like it made me and Stick cry. Like every time I saw them, I was like, I burst into tears, because there was just something that was just so.
It's the stories from the pages of books you've been reading for years comes to life in front of you,
Yeah.
and it's not theatre, it's not TV. Someone has made that happen, and when they disappear off around the corner, they are going back to the pages of that book to carry on their exploration and their lives of wonder. Right? That's the tears you're crying.
Yeah, that's it. That's entirely it. It's just.
Apparently, I can describe it with my amazing.
It's pure joy. Like there was nothing about what they would like. There was nothing that didn't just radiate pure joy during like that. I just
and grandeur as well.
Yeah, it's gonna make me cry again. Even just thinking about it's gonna make me cry.
Yeah, grandeur, occasion. The word intrepid is just like kind of perfect for them. They were amazing, and whenever they reappeared, because they would often drive across the back of the post-APOC camp, and you'd see them kind of going past. You kind of just won't be able to. Obviously, we couldn't, because we were kind of tied to our camp by the magic green trader rings that we were wearing that gave us the power to be behind the stage, but also kept us bound to more or less our camp quite a lot of the time. But you're right; they were absolutely the best bit of theatre that was present. Not to downplay anything else that was there, but there was nothing as mystical or magical. It literally was, magic. It had come to life from the world of the steampunk university. It was just there.
Yeah.
Nothing else could top that. You couldn't wear a costume like that. You couldn't.
They had the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And scale in terms of like physical scale, and scale in terms of the impact and the scale of the music and everything we've said. Yeah, they were great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. Go and look up Abacus Theatre. They were excellent, outstanding, and they're a name that we can get behind. I think we'd love to have some of the other people that we've talked about on here. If you've listened to this pod and we've been talking about your work or your characters, we'd love to have you on, so that we can put names to these people. But in the evening we burnt a stag, which was it was right. It happened. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of noise. It took a while to happen. I was sitting chatting to Holly and I were sitting chatting to some excellent people. We were talking to Jens from Melis Outpost, who hopefully will be on here soon. Who's a friend of ours that we haven't seen really probably for a while, and we were doing that.
Yeah.
And then the stag caught fire in the background, and it was.
The stag was good. I enjoyed watching it. I'd like to have been closer to it to see it.
Yeah,
there was a whole ritual and performance, and this woman with flaming stag antlers, holding 2 more antlers in each hand, and each tip was ablaze. So
not being close to it was probably one of the downsides to our.
There was one part I was a little concerned, because I saw that her flaming stag antler headdress was starting to tilt to one side. I went, ooh, that's a little, but everything was fine.
Yeah.
But from a dress point of view, I went, ooh.
So from my point of view, there was a glorious burning of a stag, which we were quite far away from, and everyone enjoyed it. There was a lot of cheering and happiness, and
yeah.
I nearly had a conniption when a piece of burning paper landed on our tent. But it had been raining all day.
Soaking wet tent, yes. There was a lot.
So it wasn't, but
That's just your brain. It was okay.
Me being me.
So that happened, and we had a lovely evening, as I say, with Jens and the friends, who were all dressed as hobbits. But what I want to say right now is that after seeing our camp and chatting to us for like 2 or 3 hours, Jen had the same reaction that I think probably 95% of the people I spoke to had the same reaction of, which is like next year we're doing post-APOC. And I'm not kidding. I think maybe I'm a little bit, maybe 90% of the people I spoke to said post-APOC next year. But I sat down because we can only do so much podcasting. And for gentle listeners, I destroyed my foot at the event. I've damaged the ligaments in my foot, so I didn't want to walk around too much, right? So I ended up sitting or standing in one place in the camp. So I got this patter down of talking to people as they went past. Welcome to the end of the world. How was your experience? Is there anything we could do to improve the end of the world? Did that kind of thing. And then I asked them their big geek question, what's your big geek trigger? And we had that conversation. Some people learned what their geek trigger was. Some people learned they were geeks. It was very exciting. But the one big thing they took away from it a lot was, one of the biggest triggers was coming into this camp and finding it to be so engrossingly, appealing to their soul.
That's what happened to me.
which made me really happy. And people were saying like, next year we're going to do post APOC. This is staying with me, which made me really happy. It was really cool to hear. A lot of people said things like baking and cooking and sewing and trains and all manner of unusual things. But in the end, a lot of them were on board with the whole next year's post APOC year for us.
Yeah,
which is wonderful.
Every year is post APOC year now. I'm hooked.
Excellent. I'm so glad.
Hooked. Got plans.
Me too.
We can discuss those off pod.
Yes.
Or we can discuss them on pod. That can be a different pod.
Just not this one.
Not
Holly,
right now.
Stop talking.
No, not at all. I'm happy to listen to you, but I think anyway. And we got to the end of the night, and we did another repeat. We sat around to the fire for a bit, but we were all quite tired. It had been a long day, much longer than Friday, and it had been humid and muggy. And I want to say right now that it was too hot. It was like 30 degrees on Friday and Sunday, and it was muggy and horrible on Saturday. And yes, I did the ligaments in my foot, and it was really painful and stuff like that. And doing the pod was quite stressful. But those three things, I would say, probably should have ruined my event. But it probably just knocked it down to a 9 out of 10, which I think is pretty big as a statement.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's huge.
And now we have an interview that I did with the very talented Kat Mansell of Sticks, Stones and Bones. Hello, I am Mark from a Geek Tragedy podcast, and I'm here at the Fantasy Forest Festival talking to the amazingly talented Kat Mansell of Sticks, Stones and Bones. Hello.
Hello.
We met, I believe, first time at the What's Your Game?
That's right.
LARP trading in Gloucester.
It was a few years ago.
It was a few years ago. There might have been a pandemic in between now and then.
Yes, absolutely.
Quite possible. So I was captivated by your work when I first saw it. You are a wonderful sculptor. Please tell us a little about your work, your inspirations, your techniques.
Yeah.
Give us all your secrets.
No worries.
No, don't give us all your secrets.
Well, so you met me at Watch Your Game. I'd been there as a punter 1 year and just came away, and the Gloucester Arts and Crafts Centre, which is I have some of my work in, there was a fellow making similar trolls, bits and pieces, and he did a course. So I was like, ooh, I'd like to have a go at that. And yeah, I went along and sort of really started it. I was hooked. So yeah, but Brian Proud, you know, growing up in the 80s, watching Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, just you name it, Legends as well. Yeah, I live in a little fantasy land, I suppose, in my head.
Well, I mean, we're at Fantasy Forest, so I think we're all living in fantasy land at the moment. I mean, Brian Froud is a very obvious, strong source of inspiration for him, which is great because he was for me as well, still is. I mean, how can you not love Brian Froud's work? The materials you work in, what do you work in? Because I've got to say, you have so much character in your faces. They're just beautiful.
Thank you.
Every single one. And I believe they're all individually hand sculpted. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't cast anything. Every single one is handmade. Yeah, so they're always going to be individual. So you know, which I think is quite nice for people to have. It will never be the same as the last. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So my earlier ones are sculpted out of Super Sculpey, and it's just a lovely material. So yeah, and but my new favourite is cosplay. I find I can get more detail into it. It's personal preference, but I prefer that. So and it's also quite forgiving. It has a little flex, which is quite nice on some of the finer details. So yeah.
And I mean, okay, this is the. I'm asking all the questions that people would ask me and go, it's a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask only. I mean, an average for how many hours would go into something like your Ludo character from Labyrinth?
Because I have a real people job, unfortunately, scratching rocks. I will do something like Ludo over the week in between working and then getting home and then smashing a little bit of clay and then yeah. So if I had time for just doing that full time, I'd probably do it in about 3 days. Yeah, doing it properly. I don't rush, so
No.
yeah.
And it shows. I mean, the attention to detail, the sculpting, the eyes, the paintwork, the fur work, all of it is beautiful.
I'd like to see, you know, they've evolved over the sort of 2-3 years that I've started doing it. So yeah, I think they're getting better.
They absolutely are.
So evolving.
And they were great to start off with. So I really look forward to seeing where you go with all of this.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, and by the way, nice costume you're wearing.
Isn't it just? Yeah. A very talented guy that made it.
Oh, I don't know who that might be. Thank you very much, Kat. I
cheers,
hope
Mark.
you have a fantastic Fantasy Forest and hope to catch you again soon.
You certainly will.
Cheers.
Yeah,
then.
cheers.
Bye.
One final thing, if I may. Just very quickly, we're asking people on and around the podcast, what is your happy geek trigger? So it might be, I hear concerning hobbits from Lord of the Rings, I'm immediately happy in my favourite geeky spot. We've had people say trains, baking, loads of different stuff. Anything that immediately springs to mind?
My dark place. Yeah. I'm quite happy.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
And then we got up on Sunday morning, and it was a little bit later than 7 for some of us. I mean, I was up earlier, but you guys.
Well, you were up earlier, but you also didn't come back to the tent until 2 o'clock in the morning.
I blame. Well, that's because Mark abandoned me. Wanted to talk about his kit, so I think they thought I was his agent, so they just sort of spoke to me for hours while I was going, "Please go away," for hours about his kit. I'm pretty sure at some point I've sold some of his kit, but hopefully that happens. But regardless,
I'm waiting for the emails to come in.
I had this moment which I spoke to Mark about the event where in the morning, I think it was possibly Saturday morning, somebody came up to me and was just like kind of, "Oh wow, you're amazing," and basically was just talking to me in this really positive way, not about anything in particular, just going about what a great person I was and like, you know, stuff. And for about 10 minutes, and I was like, "This is really lovely." And then he went like, you know, "It matter how long it's taken to make this kit." And I went, "No, I'm not Mark." And then he went, and walked off. I was like, "Oh, that's sad."
I'm sorry.
But for 10 minutes, I got to know the adulation that Mark experiences on a daily basis. But then a bit later on, a small child turned up, or a young person, maybe a teen, I can't remember, turned up and was like, "I want to take a picture." And I was like, "Yeah, you want Mark?" And they were like, "No."
Revenge.
Anyway, and then it was Sunday, and it was really busy. The wastes were
Packed.
they were packed and packed and packed. We wanted to go early, but I think that was possibly an error on our part that we kind of got out of kit as early as we did. I think next time we take some more people with us so they can pack it down. We look fabulous.
Yeah.
We need lackeys.
We do.
Because so many pictures were taken that we weren't in because it was so busy on the Sunday.
Yeah.
But I still didn't get home till about 9 o'clock, and then by the time I'd unpacked and stuff,
yeah,
I was knackered after that weekend.
It was really weird. I had to do like a couple of after I'd taken my kit off. I had to do like a couple of water runs, like up and down, like, and it was so weird. It was so weird because I just like I was straight back at that kind of like that just kind of regular person.
Yeah, me too.
And it was horrible. I hated it.
Had exactly the same experience. Like, oh, I'm just somebody now.
Yeah, it was almost visceral as well. Like it was just
in my big accent and my stuff, and people just looked at me and went like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Mark, you said you complimented someome's kit, and they just went, "That's that, whatever." And we spent all weekend going, "That looks amazing." And
nice
because
hat.
they were like, "Oh wow, thanks. That's really kind of you to say."
Yeah.
There's one that had this beautiful dragon puppet, and it was all very colourful and lovely made. And I was looking at it, oh, this is beautiful work. I said, "You're very talented." I said, "Oh, thanks," and just like walked off. Thought, I wish you realised that was a really big compliment.
Yeah. So never doing that again. Basically, never never not wearing kit of some description. But yeah.
How the kit is strong. And we were very sad to go. I think. We'll come to that in a minute. I think, but when you were leaving and you were getting in your cars and you were thinking about what you're. I've got several things to talk about at the end. The big takeaways, I mean that quite literally at the moment, is it was a bit of a food fest. What was your favourite food there? It was the whole festival wasn't just about being geeks and cosplaying. There was tremendously good music, which I'm not going to ask you about because we didn't really get to see much of it.
But big shout out to the Dolmen because they were amazing.
Big shout out to the Dolmen as ever. And Professor Mansell was
and Madam Misfit, who I could hear from the other stage, who I'd never heard of before and am now absolutely in love with.
I heard a lot of stuff that I really loved, but I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
But there was a food festival going on there. I couldn't believe how much food there was available, how good it was, and sometimes reasonably priced, sometimes not so reasonably priced. But we didn't go to those places. We heard other people complaining about them. But there was a big food festival happening, and we're vegans, and we didn't expect so much choice. No. And Mark, you're a carnivore, and there was even more choice for you, obviously, because
yeah, absolutely, the food was fantastic. Yeah.
So what's your favourite? Right? What did you enjoy the most? Holly, you're first. What was your favourite?
So I think my favourite was the pizza from, I can't remember the name. I think it literally might have just been called the Pizza Shack.
Yes, that
sounds about right. And they had
not Pizza Hut. I remember that.
Their signature pizza doesn't have any tomato sauce on it, so it's cheese, garlic, like great big hunks of garlic as well, which is just beautiful. Cheese, garlic, rosemary, truffle oil, and then very, very, very thinly sliced roasted potatoes, and it was and mushrooms, and it was just gorgeous. I could eat that, I think, for eternity. And also there was Fresh Roots, who are a fully vegan.
We didn't get to them more than once.
We only got to them once, but their chili was divine.
Their chili was very good.
I was quite distracted by the stag burning on Saturday because I was so engrossed in my chili. It was very good.
But yeah, we were kind of anchored though, weren't we? Because all of us, because we were next to the shops by the stag.
Yeah.
And we were bound by our green rings, so going further into the festival was harder than going to the ones nearby. Yeah. What was yours, Mike? What was your favourite one you had?
I would have to concur that the pizza was glorious. I had a Hawaiian, which was delicious. And for festival prices, I mean, I thought everything was pretty much
That pizza was 11
pretty
quid.
much the same. Yeah, I think mine was.
I think
12
it was
or
12.
13
I think,
maybe. But you pretty much get a standardized price. You'll get a meal for around about 12, 13 quid.
Yeah.
And they're all very reasonably, they were good portions. You weren't like, oh, this is what I get for that. The poke bowl.
Oh yeah, they were good.
They were good. And also obviously the place I went back to repeatedly.
Cowley's jerky.
Cowley's jerky,
Yeah.
yes. Cowley's meats are just wonderful. Every time I see him at a festival, it's like, yes, Jerky Man's here.
Yep.
And they're a lovely couple who run it as well. But yeah, I went back. I spent more on jerky than I did on any other food combined. Really,
Do you love your jerky though?
Worth it. I love jerky. Yeah.
Stick did his makeup, didn't they?
Yeah. So if you saw Martin Cowley dressed up as a terrifying clown, Stick did the makeup, and it was in fact absolutely terrifying. To the point where Martin came to see us actually sort of on the Sunday and said, it was great. Yesterday I was walking up to people I knew who'd known me for years and years and years, and I was smiling at them, and they didn't realise that it was me because of my makeup, and they were physically backing away.
I had a similar thing when I took Bubs, the post-apocalyptic ventriloquist doll, out on Saturday night. I went for a walk with him, and they were just sort of come up behind people and go, hello. And there were a number of people, ooh, back away from the weird guy with a very weird doll. So, yeah. But Martin liked it. He was very happy to see the doll. I should have just given it to him, then he could have wandered around with...
Oh, no, that would have been far too actually creepy.
Yeah, no, that would have been a perfect overload of...
too much.
Dick.
No.
Cool. Okay, so that was your favourite food.
What was your favourite food? Is it pizza? Pizza.
Really good. Poke bowls, chili, they were all good. The Morris breakfast was all right. I can't remember what else I ate, but the pizza really stands out. I really wanted more pizza when it was time to go home, and Stick was like, "We need more food before you need to eat before you go," and they were like, "I want to get a poke bowl." I'm like, "Get pizza."
Get pizza.
Like, I don't want pizza. I'm like, "Get pizza. I'm paying. Get pizza." They didn't. They got poke bowls, and I was like, "The poke bowls are good, but I want pizza." But there we go. I'm gonna pine for pizza for a year. So that was food. What was your best? So there is a poem called "If," and it speaks about your minute run. What was your best minute run at the event? What made you a man, my son, or Holly, my son, or whatever? What made you really kind of go, that was a really great moment of the event? I can tell you mine.
Go on.
It was I think it was literally seeing Jens on Saturday and realizing how friendly everything was. That kind of clicked it into place in my head about how people just walked in and everyone, they brought loads of people with them. I didn't know them. There were loads of people around me I didn't know. It was very packed in, and I suddenly sat down with people and everyone was just joining in the conversation, and it felt really together and happy and wholesome. And in that minute there, I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. This isn't a lot of stress fell off me in that moment, and it was good.
On Friday night, when we were doing our first run, we just got our first beers, and we went round actually to go to Cowley's Jerky, and that was when the Dolman started playing, and we just had a bit of a dance, and it was exactly the same thing. I could just because it was amazing, right? Because there were just people and their kids just doing random dances. There were people sort of trying to look kind of a little bit cool and doing the whole kind of
you accidentally boot two of those kids into the crowd?
No.
Okay.
It'd be ridiculous. I didn't boot anybody anywhere. But I felt that too. I felt that whole every single part of everything, every single stress just kind of fell away at that point, and I was like, this is going to be good. This is going to be really good.
Well, you used the toilet, so...
I did. I mean, that was another thing, right? Everything was tidy all the time. Like, there was hardly any rubbish anywhere. The loos were always clean. They always had loo roll in them. Like, everyone was nice and didn't hear a harsh word spoken between people in, like, 4 days. Bearing in mind that today I went out into civilization for the first time since I've come back, right? I went to M&S, and within, like, 2 minutes of me being in the car park, there was a massive argument between two people that didn't know each other, calling each other Dinlos over and over and over again. And I was like, this sucks. Reality sucks. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, everything was just nice. It was just wholesome and
Mark,
wonderful.
did you have a specific moment that defined your...
Yeah, I mean, okay, I did quite a bit of just random, spontaneous dancing to music in the evenings, just like it sort of welled up and I went, ooh, just go for a little dance. But I think the thing that I was most pleased with was talking to, I'm going to try and pronounce her name correctly this time, Natasha Akeleos, yeah, is that right?
Yep.
I would have to ask her anyway.
Well, this is the fan art moment.
Yeah.
Which we
wife of the late great Chris Akeleos, who was a fantasy artist of like immense skill and one of the classics of fantasy artwork, along with like Boris Vallejo and I probably haven't pronounced his name right either, Frazetta and Roger Dean and Fred and all the rest. And I saw the stall there, and I was looking, at the prints and stuff, and then I realised that there were these original pencil sketches for sale as well. And I was looking through them, and then this woman approached me and said hi and that, and she introduced herself as his wife, and we just chatted, and it was just really lovely fanboying about her husband, and also just meeting her because she was just a lovely person. And I thought this is me being able to geek out with a with just somebody who I can happily geek out with. And that moment for me was very nice, and it was nice to. And I bought one of the original pieces of artwork, and that made me very happy because it's like a connection with an artist. Yeah, it's like kind of a privilege to own a piece of original art. So that and the dancing, I think, were two of my moments of just like, this is great. I love this festival. So yeah, there you go.
Is it weird that like kind of there's a bit of that here as well? So like I own some of your stuff. I mean, I podcast with you now, but when I first got hold of some of your stuff, that was kind of cool. I felt a bit connected with something that
I mean, I remember the first time that Mark was going to come to a fort, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
Now you know how we feel,
like,
Mark.
Mark's coming to a fort.
I find that weird, but somebody else did say that to me when I'd said. It was on Facebook when I'd said like, it felt like a real connection and a privilege to own a piece of his art. Somebody went, well, this is how I feel about owning a piece of yours. And I went, oh, that's really nice. But I just don't think of myself in that way. But it's nice to know that other people kind of do. And that you guys were going like, hey, I really loved wearing your costume. So yeah, it's kind of a... makes me feel good.
You just call an ambulance.
It's not a heart attack. That was me patting my heart that was being warmed.
How wholesome.
Yeah.
Well, you got Holly's wholesome smile when you were talking about your meeting with. I'm not going to try and.
Natasha.
Natasha. Yeah.
Natasha. There we go. Okay, cool. I didn't actually meet Natasha. I saw her briefly. So. And there we go. Last question then. I said we're all very sad when we went home. What was your takeaway feeling when you came home? Immediate answer. How did you feel, Holly, when you got back?
Content.
Mark gets time to think. Content. Mark, how did you feel when you got back?
It was the drive back that got me, because I was smiling all the way back, and a 4-hour drive after a long weekend did not feel like a task or an imposition. Normally, when you've been on a big weekend and it's all been busy, a 4-hour drive back, oh God, after all that. But no, I was just buoyed. So that
Buoyed.
drive just went.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
word. Buoyed is the word. Absolutely.
Content and buoyed.
Hmm.
Lovely.
What about you?
I already told you. Long pause while you think about it.
Well, I wasn't there
You were.
when.
On
I
this
told you about
pod.
25 minutes ago.
Okay, wasn't listening.
Yes, you were, because you answered my question afterwards when I said, if after all that I gave it a 9 out of 10, I think I can kind of
Ah,
turn
right.
around.
Yep. Gotcha.
Oh, that
Gotcha.
one.
Yeah, it was. Friday was awful. Sitting around, I can't do heat. I can't. It destroys what's left of the bits of me that don't work very well. And I struggled so hard on Friday to get to the bit where we were time in, so to speak.
Hmm.
And after that, it was great. And then the pod thing happened. For those who don't know, I almost sabotaged the entire pod by some levels of ineptitude. And that happened. And I tried not to stress out about that, and I think I succeeded quite well
You did
in not
very well.
like destroying myself over that. But it was there, and then I've damaged ligaments in my foot to the extent that I've got to go to the doctors, and I've made an appointment now and stuff. But I'm quite worried about that, and that was quite distressing. And my takeaway from that was the event's kind of a 9 out of 10, which I think probably would have, as I say, would have destroyed the event for me normally.
Yeah.
But those things were unfortunate things that happened to
Yeah,
them.
my
The
takeaway
event wasn't control of the weather, and it wasn't control
Yeah,
of
but my takeaway is that,
rolling your ankle.
given all that, my takeaway is that I came home thinking that was a fucking 9 out of 10 weekend.
Yeah.
That that's my takeaway. Is fuck me, that was really good, because I think that probably would have been a 3 out of 10 weekend in a lot of places, given the crap things that happened. But I just wandered around for the whole weekend on a really knackered foot, for example, not really paying attention to it, because there's so much going on. I was so happy, and stuff that would normally stress me out didn't. It was that.
And there were good doggos and cats.
They were puppets.
They weren't puppets. They were actual dogs
They are
and
puppets.
cats.
These puppets are the best puppets I've seen.
And ferrets. People brought
I
them.
didn't see a cat there.
Yeah, there was a little
wasn't
sphinx
there?
cat.
Sphinx cat and an owl.
And an owl and a raven.
I saw those two. I just didn't see the
There
cat.
was a cat.
And there were humans, I noticed.
Yeah, lots of humans.
And mushrooms.
Occasional cryptid.
Well, you can't call Stick occasional.
Stick is we've decided this. Stick is human hazard tape.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our weekend. In a nutshell. And we weren't here to review Fantasy Forest. We're just here to tell you what we thought of it, because everyone's going to take away what they take away from it. If we say going, you must go to it. It is the best thing since sliced bread, and it's not your thing. Then you hate it. It was just our stories of what we brought back from that are things we will probably tell for many years to come, and they have inspired us to want to do more of the same before next year, and they've definitely brought us closer together as a unit of people, because we spend a lot of our time like this, right? Three faces on the screen. And I've known Mark for well over a decade now, but I don't see him.
Sorry about that.
It's not good enough. I want money and cake. But no, I mean, we don't see each other anymore. It's because lockdown happened, and it sort of stopped happening. And obviously, Ollie's known Mark a little bit less time. Your cat, what is it doing? And
sleeping.
Going to Fantasy Forest definitely was an affirmation, not only of what we're doing with the pod, but also just generally friendship and uplifting us.
Yeah, it was good to spend downtime with you guys.
For sure.
Uplifting a spirit together, building of of soul. I guess it's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without. If we'd sat in a field and done that without the rest of the Fantasy Forest around us, we probably would have killed each other. But just slept. I might have just slept. I think I probably would have
slept for 3 days. Yeah. I think I would have probably been quite miserable, because I usually hate camping. You notice how I didn't complain about the fact that I was camping once.
No, it's definitely more than once.
I didn't complain about camping at all, actually.
So we don't endorse it. We don't say everyone should go and do it. But if it sounds up your alley and you want to go with friends, you'll probably find yourself in a very happy place.
Yeah.
3 or 4 days later.
Oh yeah.
So that was us. Next time you hear our voices, we will probably be talking from the stage at Fancy Forest. Our aim is to have this pod out first, and then during the weeks to come, be splicing together all the stuff that we did there into one big pod, because it's going to take a while, and you'll get to hear us reporting direct from stage in front of a small audience of people. Woo! I'm saying this, with some trepidation because it might happen. If not, we'll be talking about Lego or a book, or why cats should have wrenches, because he looks like he wants one.
Stiff Maud.
There we go. Wants that wrench. But we'll be back next week as per usual. It's also worth saying that this is our next Monday release. So when you hear this, we will be doing the Molinarius question online. So last time you heard us, we asked the question, which was, what is the name of the shark in
Jaws?
That question is still going. If you heard the pod last time, hopefully you would have emailed in and got yourself a whole bunch of entries into our hat. One of you being able to win Shoal. If not, the lines are open, as they used to say back in the days of multicoloured swap shop, which Mark and I were discussing at the event. And you will be able to PM us, DM us, or email us, whatever, and give us the answer. And we'll put less entries into the hat than we would have done a week ago. But you'll still have a chance of winning Shoal from Molinarius Games. One of you will get to take that home, and they'll send it anywhere. They will send that to wherever you are in the world. Don't move to Australia just to increase the postage. Stay where you are if you're in England, obviously. But yes, the competition is still open. So that's done. We're finished for today, and it's goodbye from me.
Yeah, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And that is the Power of the Forest. Goodbye. Have an amazing week, everyone. We love you very much. Farewell.
Bye.
You have been listening to A Geek Tragedy with me, Plague Mantle, and my best friend, the excellent Holly Properly, and our actually famous guy, Mark Caldery. If you like this, there is plenty more at patreon.com/A Geek Tragedy. Production is by Kit Brutnell. Our logo and artwork is by markcaldery.com. Music is by Borislaw Kozielski. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Geek Tragedy. Email us at ageektragedypodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe, leave us a rating and a review. And don't forget to tell all your geeky friends. Also, a big shout out to all of our genius geeks. We adore each and every one of you. And of course, much love. Take care of each other.